Hello everybody and welcome back to Mitch Speaks English, the channel for fun, fast vocabulary tips. If you'd like to see some more videos just like this, then hit the like button, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. I'll let you know when I post any new videos. When you're learning English, there's one sentence that you feel you have to say a lot and you say it over and over. Can you repeat that? Can you please repeat what you said? Would you mind please repeating yourself? When you're learning English and you're listening to native English speakers, it's very likely that you won't understand every single thing they've said. So it's very usual for you to say, can you please repeat yourself? Can you repeat that? Can you repeat what you said? Because you're trying to understand what they're saying in the context of what they're trying to tell you. Sometimes you'll feel like you're asking that question far too many times. And this might lead to some embarrassment, but there's no need to get embarrassed. Each of us in learning a language needs to hear the language. It needs to be repeated to us so that we can understand what the speaker is trying to say. So if you're one of those people that are wondering, and maybe you just give up in listening because you don't want to keep on asking if someone can repeat themselves, you feel embarrassed by asking the question, there's no need to be embarrassed. We're all like that. We've all gone through that. In this video, we are going to cover lots of different phrases so that you can utilize different ideas, different sentences to ask someone if they could repeat that sentence to you, which is so important in your learning and understanding of the English language. We are going to run through many different ways of saying, can you repeat that? Sentences that you can use. And what I suggest you do is take 5 sentences and use them straight after this lesson with somebody in a conversation. Ask them to repeat themselves in different ways. Do that every single day, and that'll aid you in your practice of learning to use different phrases. The first one we're going to look at actually includes the word repeat in it. And it is, would you mind repeating that? It's almost a way of saying, stop, I didn't understand. Please, would you mind repeating that so that I can understand what you're saying? Let's have a look at a group of 5 words that could mean 2 different things depending on the body language and the tone that you use. Excuse me, I beg your pardon, I'm sorry, come again, and pardon or pardon me. Each one of these words or sentences can mean different things depending on the way you say them and the body language or attitude that you have. Excuse me. If you were going to use excuse me instead of saying, would you repeat yourself, you would say it like this. Excuse me? The person speaking to you would understand that you haven't understood what has been said and they need to repeat the question to you so that you did understand. If you were going to use excuse me because you're offended by somebody, you would say, excuse me? So if they asked you a question or said something to you and you took offense to that, you would say, excuse me? It's very different to saying, excuse me. Let's look at the word sorry. If someone said something and you didn't quite catch their meaning and you wanted them to repeat it, you would say, sorry, as in, sorry, I didn't get your meaning. Would you mind repeating that? You can just use that one word, sorry. But if somebody said something that was offensive to you and you didn't like it and you wanted to let them know that you didn't like that, you would say, sorry, as in, sorry, what did you say? I didn't like what you said. 2 different meanings depending on your body language and the tone that you use. Come again, another one, depending on body language and tone of voice, 2 completely different meanings. If someone said something that you didn't catch and you said, come again, it would mean that, please, would you mind repeating it? I didn't quite get your meaning, you spoke too quickly. But if somebody said something to you that you didn't like, you would say, come again? I beg your pardon. This is a more formal phrase. And it's generally used by an older generation. It implies good manners. And instead of you saying, would you mind repeating yourself? If somebody asked you a question, you would say, I beg your pardon. Meaning, I beg your pardon, I didn't quite understand what you said. Would you mind repeating yourself? But also, depending on your body language and tone, if somebody said something offensive to you, you could formally say to them, I beg your pardon. It's indignant. And it comes across very differently. Could you please say that again? This is a very polite way of asking somebody to repeat what they've just said to you because you didn't quite catch the meaning. Could you please say that again? Sorry, I didn't catch that. This is an informal way of saying, would you repeat yourself? Sorry, I didn't catch that. Can you please say that again? Would you mind repeating yourself to me? Sorry, I didn't catch that. If you were listening to someone and they'd spoken a little bit softly, instead of asking them to repeat what they just said, you would say, a little louder, please. A little louder, please, implying that you hadn't heard what they'd said and you wanted them to say it again for you. Here are some sentences that will help you with very specific outcomes. So if you don't know something, you're going to intentionally ask that person to either repeat the question or to rephrase it or to say it in a slower method so that you understand what they're trying to say. Sorry, I don't know that word. Sorry, could you speak more slowly, please? Could you tell me what that means? I didn't understand. Sorry, I don't follow you. I'm completely lost. I can't hear your voice. Can you please say that again? I can't hear your voice. Can you please say that again? Can you explain that in another way, please? Another very effective way of getting somebody to repeat something is by asking them a question. So if they'd said something to you and you weren't quite sure about what they were saying, you could say, did I understand you correctly in what you were trying to say is this? Or what I understood what you were saying to me was X, Y, and Z. And if the answer isn't exactly as they were trying to communicate with you, they would repeat it and tell you what they were trying to say. Always remember that what you're trying to achieve is have a conversation in English. And as an ESL student, someone that's not a native speaker, when you're speaking to someone that's a native, they're oftentimes speaking a lot faster than you can actually understand. So a very important thing to do is to control the pace of the conversation. And what this means is that if you've got 4 or 5 questions that you can stop them, control, ask them, let them repeat themselves about what they're trying to get through to you, it's very easy for you to slow that down to a point that you can understand and improve your English. So some of these questions might be, excuse me, I don't understand what you're saying. Would you mind repeating that for me, please? Or, excuse me, I didn't quite catch that. Is there another way of you saying it? Could you say it in an easier way for me to understand? Would you mind explaining that in a different way? Each one of those are just asking someone to repeat it in another way so that you can grasp what they're trying to say to you and you can improve your English every single day just by interacting in normal conversation. Sometimes the thing that actually holds us back from progressing with our English is just our fear of being embarrassed, our fear of making a fool of ourselves, maybe of sounding foolish. But I just want to encourage you, get some questions in your arsenal. Ask the questions. You'll typically find that people that are native English speakers will know that you're learning the language, that English isn't your first language, and they'll help you. So if you've got a couple of questions that can get people to help you, that can engage in conversation, generally people are helpful and you've got no need to be embarrassed. Your English will improve in leaps and bounds and you'll be able to progress and sound more and more like a native English speaker. We're going to be going through a whole lot of do not say phrases with different alternates to help you improve your vocabulary. If you're looking for more videos just like this, you can look at the 2 videos displayed here, which will show you more information on this topic.